It seems like every year, or maybe every other year, we get a video game adaptation, and most people are probably excited for it. I can't speak for everybody, but at least my standards are pretty low for movie adaptations of video games. Pretty much all of them are mediocre or okay at best. They seem to get a little bit better. However, whenever like a trailer is released or anything like that, there's always just like a little grain of salt where I'm thinking, this trailer is well made, but this movie is probably not going to be good. The new Mortal Kombat movie is a perfect example of that. Thought the trailer was pretty interesting, had some pretty dumb moments where I was like, that's cheesy and I'm gonna see it anyway. And we got an okay movie. Maybe not even an okay movie, I don't know. It certainly has a different vibe from the two movies that came out in the 1990s. But you can clearly tell that just by looking at the trailers. Heck, you can even tell by looking at the pictures, honestly. Now, is this new Mortal Kombat movie better than the first two movies? That really just depends what kind of mood you're in. Are you in for some cheesiness? Then maybe stick with the 90s. If you want something that tries to be very serious and tries to be really heavy on the action, then maybe you'll be more into that. Now, this movie does start with a cool action sequence. It gives some backstory between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I think those first 7 minutes probably have the most thought put into, as in for its directing and for its choreographs. We get some good shots that let us see the action. It doesn't rely too much on editing and cuts, and some of the moves are just cool to see as well. It is the best action sequence in the movie because every other fight scene in this movie is just pretty bland and forgettable. The fighting choreography is just really underwhelming, and there are so many cuts and edits that just ruins the flow. Some of these fights even look like they're still like being rehearsed in the movie. There's one fight where it just seems like they're just going, oh, all right, I'm gonna do this move, and then after that we're gonna do a punch, and then we're gonna do a flip, and then I'm gonna move my arm up. It just seems like they're not entirely sure about these moves that they're about to do. And look, we're gonna get some fatalities. There were a few in here. They may be cool to see because they are a little over the top and outrageous, but it's not enough to keep me entertained or even to return to like the fights on YouTube if I want to see them again. We have a new character in this movie. His name is Cole Young, and he's played by Louis Tan. He's an MMA fighter with a mysterious dragon birthmark. That mark makes him a champion of the Earth Realm, and he must learn how to properly fight to stop the evil from the Outworld, along with other champions such as like Sonya Blade, Jax, Kano, you know, all the characters are there. Unfortunately, Cole lacks a lot of personality, and he is just a stand-in for characters to explain everything to him and to the audience. I don't think the plot is confusing for this movie. It tries its best to explain just the basics of the Mortal Kombat franchise, but after every single fight, it's just constant explaining this, explaining that. They fight. Oh, well, this is what's going on, and then this is what's happening. All of these characters are just explaining something, and that makes their personalities not shine, and it's just not interesting to see them at all. I guess if you try to compare these characters to the characters from the video games, you might enjoy them. You might think like, wow, they definitely got Liu Kang right, or they definitely got Jax right. But in the end, at least in this movie, they're all like on the same note, all very boring. They're not well written. They're dull characters to me. The only character who I think was done decently was Kano, who's played by Josh Lawson. His quips and jokes are non-stop and is a little annoying, but I do think the writers got him right. There are some nice little references and Easter eggs for the fans, but that can only go so far. Eventually, it doesn't matter. The production design isn't that bad either. For a budget of 50 million, the effects and how everything looks is pretty good. They definitely try not to go all out in this movie, which I appreciate. I think movies like this, especially for a Mortal Kombat franchise, I think it definitely works with just like a few locations. A problem with video game adaptations is that they have to appeal to fans. For a movie like this, the main focus was clearly the fighting, and even that wasn't exciting except for the first 7 minutes. The dialogue is very wooden and the performances don't add anything to it. They certainly tried, I'll give them that. It just didn't work. And part of that has to do with the writing. It's not entirely the actors' faults. But every single character in this movie is basically the same. Except for Kano, I think he's probably the most interesting and entertaining. It's certainly not the worst video game adaptation I've seen, but there's really not much to it that would make me want to see this again. If they do a sequel, they need a new team. They need a new director and a new writer, because at least according to their IMDb's, this is like their debut. Maybe they could get somebody that is very good at making like martial arts movies or something like that. But that director would also need to make the story more interesting, where everyone's not explaining everything. They would have to give the characters more charisma. They would have to make the fighting a lot cleaner, maybe go a bit more over the top. And they most definitely need to stop relying on cuts. You could do some really cool things in a movie like this if you let the camera roll, let the choreography have its flow, and let these actors show their skills, what they've been training to do for this movie. It might seem a lot, but it seemed like a lot of stuff didn't work for me in the movie. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.4 out of 10. All right, well, thank you so much for watching this. Did you see Mortal Kombat? Do you plan on watching that movie? If you did see it, let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Let me know what I should review next. If you like what you see, do all that stuff. You know, you can like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you exercise every day, drink your milk, and have a great day.